What would you do if the person who raised you became the one who sentenced you to death? What happened in a small town in Somalia will shake everything you think you know about faith, fear, and the kind of love that refuses to let you go. Stay with me, because you cannot afford to miss what comes next. Before we go further, drop a comment and tell me where in the world you are watching or reading from. Let us build a family here and pray for one another across every border. Note: this is a true story. No names are used due to serious security concerns and for the personal protection of everyone involved. I was born a girl in Koro, Somalia, in the spring of 1998. I was raised inside walls I never thought to question. Religion was not simply a personal matter in our town. It was the law of the land. Sharia law governed what we wore, how we walked, and what we whispered in private. And the punishment for any Muslim who turned to another faith was not shame or prison. It was public death in the open square, where every man, woman, and child was required to stand and watch. My father was one of the men who made sure that law was kept. He was respected and feared. When he gave an order, it was done without question. I loved him because he was my father. But I was afraid of a certainty that lived in his eyes that made him capable of things that still make me tremble. I was not a rebel. I believed our faith was the only truth. I had no pity for those punished in the square. I was a good daughter, safe inside my walls. I did not know yet that walls can also be a prison. Then came March the 4th, 2011. I was 13 years old. I stood in the town square among nearly 200 people. The air was heavy. A woman was brought out into the morning light, perhaps 30 years old, dressed in white, her hands bound behind her back. I had seen her before at the market. An ordinary woman who sold vegetables. What I was not prepared for was her face. It was peaceful. Completely, impossibly peaceful. I had seen people brought to the square before. They always begged. They wept. They promised anything to keep breathing. But this woman was not begging. She was walking slowly toward her own death, the way someone walks toward home after a long journey. My father stood at the front, straight and certain. He nodded to the guards and they began to move. She was given a final chance to take it all back. To deny the God she had chosen. To save herself. She looked out at the crowd with gentle eyes. When her gaze moved across my father's face, there was no hatred there. When it moved across mine, I felt something happen in my chest, as if she was seeing something inside me that I did not yet know was there. Then she spoke in a voice so clear every word reached me through the crowd. She told Jesus she was grateful. She told him she could not wait to be home where there was no more pain. Those words entered me like a knife. Not because they threatened me. Because she meant every single one. The guards moved toward her with the rope. And then something happened that no one had planned. Her head fell gently forward. Her body went still. The guards stopped and reached for her. She was already gone. She had left before they could take her from her. Her last prayer had been answered before she finished speaking it. My father's face twisted with fury. He had wanted to end it a certain way. But death had come on its own terms. I walked home alone. Her words played in my mind like a song I had not asked to learn. I heard them while I ate. I heard them in my sleep. 3 days later in the marketplace, I caught myself whispering the name she had called out. A neighbor looked at me strangely. I pretended I was coughing. But I knew what I had done. For 3 months I wrestled with something I had no words for. I prayed harder. I read more. I tried to push her out of my thoughts. But she refused to leave. Dreams began. She appeared to me in them. Not dead but more alive than anyone I had ever seen, standing in a warm, brilliant light, reaching toward me. I woke every time just before I could reach back. Not from fear, but from a longing I could not explain. One night I stopped fighting. In a dream unlike any other, I saw a figure whose eyes held more kindness than I had ever encountered in a living person. He showed me where the path I was walking led. He showed me it led to the same emptiness and darkness that my father carried. He showed me this not to frighten me but because he loved me. He made it known through that vision that love did not look like what I had been raised to believe. He made it clear I was already known, already loved, without conditions, without performance. I woke shaking, my face wet. But for the first time in my life, I was not afraid. I lied to my family for the first time. I told them I was visiting a cousin 50 kilometers away. They believed me. I sat in a taxi with my heart hammering, holding an address God had placed in my hands through a stranger at the market. A woman answered the door. She looked at my face and understood without a word. She brought me inside, gave me tea, and sat with me while I cried for what felt like hours. I cried for the woman in white. I cried for my father. I cried for everything I was leaving. For 2 weeks she taught me about grace. She explained it meant Jesus loved me not because I had earned it but simply because he loved me. Forgiveness was already paid for. Faith was not about being certain. It was about trusting someone even when you do not understand everything. I gave my heart to Jesus in that small living room. We went to a stream and she baptized me. When I came up I was crying and laughing at the same time. I knew I was new. Going home after that was the hardest thing I had ever done. I tried to act the same. But something in me had changed so deeply it could not stay hidden. 3 months later, my father walked into my room without knocking. Morning light caught the small cross I wore against my heart. I watched his face change in the space of one breath. The love disappeared. What replaced it was identical to what I had seen in that square 2 years before. The fury of a man who believes he protects God by destroying the people who question him. He did not ask me to explain. He did not give me time. He dragged me by my hair to the council. He declared in front of everyone that his own daughter had betrayed their faith and chosen a foreign god over her family and her people. He told them what must happen now. They sentenced me to death before the sun set. Beheading. The following morning. My father did not look at me once. They put me in a cell that was dark and damp and cold. My hands were bound behind my back. My legs would not stop trembling. I had not eaten all day. The floor was wet stone. There was no light. There was nothing I could do with my hands, nothing I could reach, nothing I could fix. All I could do was pray. And so I prayed through the night in that dark, pressing my face against my knees, singing songs I barely knew the words to, while outside the guards prepared for morning. I was 13 years old, sentenced to die by my own father, alone in the dark. And yet I was not afraid. I knew where I was going. I had been shown it. Jesus knew my heart. Around 3 in the morning, a key turned in the lock. The guard who entered was shaking so badly he could barely hold the torch. He told me to be quiet, to move quickly, and to ask no questions. I looked at his face and saw something I recognized immediately. He was carrying the same thing I had carried for months. He told me later that he had been part of many executions. He had done things he could not close his eyes without seeing. But he could not stop thinking about the peace on the faces of those who died calling on Jesus. He revealed to me that one night Jesus came to him the same way Jesus had come to me, showed him the innocent blood on his hands, and made clear to him that it was time to choose. He wrestled all night. When morning came, he chose freedom. He chose to become a traitor to everything he had been told to be in order to become everything he was made to be. We walked out of that town before dawn. We were both fugitives who had left everything. But we were not alone. I felt his presence the way you feel warmth from a fire you cannot see. We made our way to a city where no one knew our faces. We found work and a church hidden inside a home. Slowly we began doing for others what had been done for us. We found women who were searching, women who had seen peace in the face of death and could not stop wondering where it came from. We hid them, taught them, helped them find new lives. When I tell this story now, my voice still shakes at the part about the woman in white. They made us watch her die to fill us with fear. But I watched her die and found everything I had been missing. Sometimes the thing meant to destroy you is the very thing that saves you. The death you witness can become the life you choose. Jesus is already there in the darkest cell, waiting for you to stop being afraid of the light. To every Christian reading this, please pray for the persecuted church, for believers in Somalia, Yemen, North Korea. Everywhere choosing Jesus means death. They are your brothers and sisters. Your prayers are not small things. If this story stirred something in you, that stirring is not an accident. Tell Jesus right now that you are tired of running. Tell him you believe he died for you and rose again. Tell him you want to come home. He will do the rest. Please share this story. Leave a comment below, like, and subscribe. More stories are coming. Do not miss them.